Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to talk about something very important, and that is what to do if someone you know is having a PTSD slash what I call panic attack. You can also lump flashbacks into that situation as well, because the same sort of things occur. So there's a couple things that you can do. First of all, you want to remember to be supportive. Okay, the person that's having the panic attack is not themselves at the moment. It's the PTSD that's controlling them and causing them to do whatever it is they're doing. So don't yell at them. Don't, grab them. Don't say stuff to them. Just understand that it's the PTSD, and that there's not anything that you can necessarily do at the moment about it. And then also, especially when you start talking about flashbacks, okay, you got to be careful about getting involved. Like I said, when I had PTSD and I'd have flashbacks from the war, whoever was in the room or in the area with me, I thought I was back in the war, and I would think that one of them was some guy in my squad, and I would start giving them orders and telling them to do stuff like we were back in a firefight. So you got to be careful about yelling at people and doing things, because they're not themselves at the moment. So again, be supportive, but remember, the person is not themselves at the moment. Like I just said, it's the PTSD. And remember that that person is trying to cope. Okay, not only in their everyday regular life with whatever it is they're doing, they're trying to cope with the PTSD. Okay, they're doing the best that they can at the moment. But also, when the panic attack happens, their only concern is trying to cope with it. I know when I was having panic attacks, I did not care what anybody said, what was going on around me, what was that. The only thing I cared about was getting out of that situation or ending the panic attack. That's all I cared about. So understand that. So even if they start snapping at you or something like that, you have to be understanding. Okay, be supportive. Be the calm voice in the room. Okay, be very calming. Don't yell, don't scream. Like I said, try to calm the person down. Maybe you can tell them to start. Take deep breaths. That's one of the things I used to do, is take deep breaths and remind myself, okay, this is the PTSD. This isn't really happening. The fact that my heart's beating really fast, I'm sweating, I can't think, I can't breathe, I feel like I'm going to pass out. That all isn't real. Okay, it's not. It's happening because of the panic attack. So when I realized this stuff and I got to a point, I would start to say, okay, I'd remind myself, okay, look, everything is okay. I'm not back in the war. Everything is okay. Just take deep breaths. Concentrate on your breathing. All right, and by concentrating on your breathing and relaxing, you start to forget about what's going on. And so if you're the person that's watching somebody have this attack, if they're actually able to talk to you and know who you are and things like that, maybe suggest that. Do the breathing exercise with them to help calm them down. One of the other tricks that I used to do when I first started trying to get out of it is I did understand that you have to break this cycle of the attack. So I used to wear a rubber band on my wrist. And when I'd start to have a panic attack, I'd just grab it and snap it on the inside of my wrist here. It hurts. But that pain that you feel by snapping that rubber band a lot of times will break the cycle that's going on in your mind with your panic attack. And then you're like, oh, what's going on? And sometimes you'll fall out of the panic attack. So that's what I started doing. And then as I learned, I evolved into bigger and better things. Secondly, as a person who knows somebody that's having these panic attacks or involved in their life, you need to understand and remove the triggers from the home, the work environment, the car, whatever environment they're in. And what I mean by triggers is triggers are something that cause the person with PTSD to have a panic attack or a flashback. They can be anything from sounds, colors, smells, events, pictures, any of those things can bring back can trigger a panic attack or a flashback, okay? So you need, when this happens, whatever environment the person is in and they start to have the panic attack, pay attention to the environment. Look around, see what's in the room, okay? Just take a room for instance, see what's in it. You know, is there certain colors? Did the sunlight change in the room? Was there a smell that came in the room all of a sudden, or was there a noise all of a sudden? Did the person happen to look over, say, over at a chair or something that's a certain color, and all of a sudden they had a panic attack? So you have to be aware of these things. You have to watch, be observant, and then you can start removing these things from the room, from the home, from the work environment, from the car, from wherever you're at. Okay, so if it's a picture, get rid of the picture, put it somewhere else for a while, until the person heals. If it's a smell from something you're cooking, don't cook that food anymore until the person heals, or until they understand what's going on. And this has a twofold purpose. Not only does the person that's watching this panic attack happen need to be observant and understand and remove the triggers, but then once you find out what those are, you can start identifying them to the person that has the PTSD. And then the person that has the PTSD has to begin the work. Okay? They have to understand why that particular color, smell, sound, whatever it was, caused them to have a panic attack or a flashback or an episode, whatever you want to call it. That all leads us to point number 3. The person with PTSD, and I underlined it, the person with PTSD must do the work. Okay? You can have everybody in the world helping you, but until you actually do the work and help yourself to heal, it won't matter, because you're not healing. Okay? So the two main things that you can do that are related to doing the work, that really have to be done first before the healing can even begin, is number 1, acceptance. Okay? You have to accept the fact that you have PTSD. You have to accept the fact that whatever happened to you, and understand that it's in the past. The only reason it keeps coming to the future and into your present life is because you're not healing from it. You're not processing it. So in order to get that to stop, we need to heal. We need to do the work, right? So accept it. I'm not saying to accept, that it was good, bad, or anything like that. It just is what it is. It happened. Okay? So accept the fact that it happened. Accept the fact that you have the PTSD. Once you accept it, then the next step is to naturally accept responsibility for your life. In other words, accept and understand the fact that in order to heal, you've got to do the work. Even if you're going to a doctor, a psychiatrist or psychologist, they may suggest things to you and talk to you, but still, you're the one that has to do the work. Okay? If you don't do it, I don't care what they tell you, or how long you go there, or how many pills you take, you're not going to heal. Okay? Very important. The next very important step, awareness, which is, we just talked about it a little bit, of being aware of what's going on in your environment and why. Being aware of everything in your environment. So I'll give you a few examples in my own life of panic attacks that I had. One instance was, and really I want to do this just to exacerbate my point and what I'm talking about in terms of not only helping someone, but the person that has the PTSD actually helping themselves. And you have the power to help yourself. You have to understand that. So in one instance, I was in my bedroom, and this was a long time ago, but I was in my bedroom, and I had just woken up. It was early in the morning. The sun was just coming up. I got up. I opened the blinds in my bedroom, and within about 30 seconds, I started having a panic attack. I started to literally freak out. My heart started pounding. I started sweating. I thought I was going to pass out, and I was panic stricken. I wanted to run. I just literally run. And I did. I ran out of the room. And then, I stopped myself, because this was about the time I was trying to figure out what was going on and trying to start to heal. I stopped myself and I said, okay, I said, let's be logical about this. I did my breathing exercises, calm myself down. Once I calmed down, I went back into that room and faced it. And I looked around the room and I said, okay, I asked myself a simple question. What is different in here between the time I woke up and the time I had the panic attack? And after a little while of looking at things and observing, I realized that the only thing that was different was I opened the blinds to my room, and I remember I opened them, and it was right after that I had the panic attack. I said, okay, well, what changed when I opened those? Well, what happened was the sunlight came in the room, okay? And so it created this orange glow in the room from the morning sun. And I thought to myself, okay, why would this color orange be bothering me? And then it hit me just like that. It's real easy. It was simple. That was the color of the sunrises and the sunsets when I was in the war. And it was the color of the explosions at night. And I quickly realized that that's what's bothering me. That color, symbolizing the sunrises and sunsets and the explosions in the war from the bombs and all that stuff, artillery shells and all those things, was bringing me right back to the war no matter where I was present day. And once I realized that, then I knew how to deal with it. And once you'll see, once you realize something like that, you'll feel better. You'll be like, okay, I know what this is. Once you understand it, it helps you to heal. And so, then what I did is I said, okay, because you have to remember, now in that situation, my bedroom now became part of my panic. It became part of my trauma, because your brain re-records everything in your environment when that happens. So you can see why if you don't begin to heal, your problem gets worse over time, because your brain keeps adding layers to your trauma, like an onion, and you end up with this big onion, right? And then what you got to do to heal is you got to start healing a layer at a time, peeling it one layer at a time until you get down to the core, until you're down to the core of the onion, right? And so that's what you got to do. I know because I spent more than 20 years with post-traumatic stress ignoring it. Okay, and it took me about 6 years to completely heal from it. So what I did then is I went back into my bedroom and I figured out that if my brain can learn to have these responses to fear and trauma, then I can teach my brain to have different responses to fear and trauma. Okay, it's called retraining your brain. It's one of the steps in my book, The Sword and the Anvil. It's one of my 13 steps of my foundation to healing. So I realized that I could retrain my brain to have different reactions. So that's what I started working on. And what I did was I went into my bedroom and I started recreating relaxing things. I listened to relaxing music. Whether it's nature sounds, whether it's jazz music, classical music, whatever it is that relaxes you, I listened to that. I'd read a relaxing book. I'd meditate, okay? And I kept doing those things over and over every time I went in my room. And before too long, I didn't panic anymore in my room. I didn't panic anymore when I saw the color orange, because I had retrained my brain. I realized what was going on. There's an experiment, you can look it up, that Pavlov did with his dogs, where he taught them to have certain responses to certain stimuli, and I think he used bells. I talk about it in my book. So, retrain your brain. You can retrain your brain to have different reactions to certain situations, okay? So that's one of the things I did. The other thing I did, I used to panic when I would go in the grocery store. I'd be fine to go grocery shopping. I'd get in line. The minute I got in line, I'd panic, freak out. I used to literally leave a whole basket full of groceries right there in the grocery store. I would run out the door. And I used the same process there again. I realized that the reason why I was panicking is because when I got in line and I was stuck in between the aisles and I had people in front of me and behind me and I couldn't move, it made me feel trapped, okay, or claustrophobic. And I thought to myself, why would that bother me? Well, it bothered me because it took me right back to the war. I spent a year in a fighting hole in the ground in the middle of the desert. It was like being in my own coffin, my own grave, okay? So, and that's very claustrophobic. There's no room to move around in there. You can basically stand up or lay down and sit down, that's about it. So I realized it's bringing me right back to that war and my experience of being in a fighting hole all the time. So I said, okay, well, I have to retrain my brain. So what I did was, again, I incorporated my breathing exercises, but I made it easier on myself because this was in the very beginning. when I very first started to heal. So my panic attacks were pretty severe, and I really didn't know how to deal with them that well. So what I did was, first day I just got in my truck, told myself I was going to the grocery store. I got in the truck, I drove to the grocery store, and I parked the truck, turned it off, waited for a minute, turned the truck back on, and went home. And then I congratulated myself for making it that far. The next day I got my truck, I drove back to the grocery store, did the same thing, only this time when I turned off the truck, I got out of the truck, shut the door, waited a minute, I got back, opened the door, got back in the truck and went home. I did this every day. It took me about 2 weeks, but I did this every day until I actually got through the whole process of going in the store and going shopping, buying my food, and standing in line and actually paying for it and leaving. And so when I got to that process, then I kept going, doing my shopping, reminding myself, hey, this is what's going on, that sort of thing, and eventually it went away. So you have these 3 major points here, and just remember that it takes time to heal. Okay, it took time to get this way. It takes time to heal. That goes both for the person with the PTSD and the people that are in their lives. Understand that it takes time. Give yourself that. Hence my famous saying, which is each and every day, take time to heal, become inspired, move forward, and be successful with your life. And if you want if you have any further questions, you want any further info, you can go to my website, www.robertsiraki.com, and check out all the information I have there. You can also go there to my homepage and check out my 2BU Heal PTSD community. Okay, there's a link there. You click on it and send me a message. Let me know you want to join it. And if you join my 2BU Heal PTSD community, you will get free weekly inspirational quotes that I write personally, my weekly podcasts and radio shows, and my videos that I do weekly. I'll send them right to you. You have them right there at your fingertips, on your cell phone, your tablet, whatever it is you use, your computer. So it's always there with you. You can access it at any time, any place, so you don't have to go looking for it. It's just something I do for my loyal listeners and watchers and my loyal customers. So go to my website, robertsiraki.com, and click on my link to the 2BU Heal PTSD community and join my community today. Other than that, good luck with everything. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.